Berliner Mauer ist gefallen. What? No way. I did not hear that right. No way. Let me turn up the car radio. Die Berliner Mauer ist gefallen. The Berlin Wall has come down? I can't believe it. I will never forget where I was November 9th of 1989 when I heard that news. I was coming back across to Germany from a trip in Austria with some friends, and we heard that announcement on the radio. And I thought, no way. I was there just a few months ago on a tour, and there was no indication the wall would come down. I was stationed in the U.S. Army during that time, right in central Germany in Kaiserslautern. I had the opportunity to go on a tour, taking the duty train up to West Berlin to stay the night, and then get a tour of both sides of the wall. My friends and I jumped at the opportunity, and we donned our Class A uniforms, rode the overnight duty train to West Berlin, and once we got to our lodging, they told us to get ready in the next morning in our Class A's once again for our tour of the East and the West Side. So first thing in the morning, get on that bus, and we're ready to stop at our first location, Checkpoint Charlie Museum. Now this is a tactile, kinesthetic museum. I will never forget my visit there. There at Checkpoint Charlie Museum, they showed what the East Berliners did to escape to freedom on the West Side. So for example, there was a hot air balloon that a family had made out of clothes, and they were able to fly up and over the wall to their freedom. There was the other example of a big speaker, a stereo speaker. Of course, this was the 1980s, so a person had crawled right inside the back of that speaker and was snuck across the border. The most creative one that stands out to me was the one where the West Berlin boyfriend drove his car over to the East Berlin side to see his girlfriend. Once he got there, he took the passenger seat out of his car, and she sat cross-legged in place of that seat. She turned her head to the side, and he covered her with a seat cover. I imagine she sat that way as a car seat for 2 to 3 hours so that she could make it to freedom. Next stop, got to get back on that bus, and we are on our way to the real Checkpoint Charlie. We were instructed as we sat on that bus to place our hands on our laps, staring straight forward, while the East German guards inspected our bus. I could look outside there without my head moving, and I could see the East German guards shining mirrors underneath the bus to make sure we weren't up to something suspicious. There were German Shepherd dogs sniffing around, seeing if there was something going on. And then, time to really stare forward and not move. The East German guard stepped on the bus. Keep staring straight forward, I told myself. Once he got there, he was in his starched, drab East German uniform, and he sternly walked down the middle of the bus, which seemed like a mile. And once he got to the back, he slowly walked forward. And then he stepped off. Whew. I could finally breathe. And I thought, oh my God, this is surreal. I can't believe I'm here. It's surreal and it's real. This is the real thing. We were instructed to stay on the bus, and we are on our way to our next stop, the next stop being Treptower Park. And this was in East Berlin. We were walked up to an area beside honoring the Germans. There was also a place that honored the Soviets. The Soviets. Now, this was a Cold War, and I thought the Soviets were the enemy of the Germans and of Americans, yet here I am in East Berlin, in Treptower Park. Our guide explained that the trees in that section did not naturally have branches that bowed down, but they had been trained or tied down so that they would mimic sadness and weeping. We were walked over to a statue called Mutter Heimat, Mother Homeland, for the Soviets. And this larger-than-life cement statue, the mother was in a kneeling position, and her head was tilted down at a very sad and awkward angle. It was designed that way so that when it rained, it would go right down her face, right past her tear duct, to mimic the teardrops of sadness and the sorrow of the family members that she had lost. And as I stood there looking at Mutter Heimat and thinking about the Soviets, this enemy in the Cold War time frame now, I thought, wow, they have needs just like us. It was as if my heart softened and my soul creaked open with unstoppable compassion for all humanity, a humanizing experience. This wasn't the end of the tour, though. We got back on that bus, and this time we were on our way to the West Berlin side. Our guide walked us up to a bank, and it was right next to the canal. Across from the canal was the Berlin Wall, and we were facing the west side. Very colorful, I might add. The West Berliners love to just irritate the East Berliners or the East Germans. They had beautiful, wonderful, colorful graffiti all up and down the wall. It was kind of their way of saying, screw you, to the East Germans and what they had done. Beyond that wall was the east side, and there was the tower. And in that tower at the top, I could see 1 to 2 East German guards sternly looking down at that canal, scanning the waters for anyone that might try to escape, with their machine guns at the ready to fire at them. In the water, there were the rugged inflatable boats that were zipping back and forth, the drivers all cocky, creating rooster tails in the water. And our tour guide shared stories about escapes through the canal to the West Berlin side. The one that stands out to me the most was the one of the pregnant woman. She was 9 months pregnant. I can imagine how she felt, this life inside of her, and desperately wanting freedom. I could picture her jumping into the frigid water and awkwardly swimming to freedom, running out of breath, trying to avoid any capture, and the West Berliners there waiting to grab her and safely pull her to shore. That's what she did for freedom. I will never forget where I was, who I was with, what I was doing when I got that news on November 9th of 1989 that the wall came crumbling down. But more than that, I will never forget how I felt at the wall. Thank you.